Why did the original 1977 Star Wars film actually make like vastly more money than? Oh, hey there. How can we help?
The reason why the original Star Wars,
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
the reason why is because of inflation. So there's like a real and then there's a nominal number.
Oh yeah. Let's hear it.
Like the nominal number, like $1,000 today versus $1,000 20 years ago, is the same number.
Oh, go for it.
Is the same number nominally, but when you adjust that $1,000 for inflation, the real number, as in
Oh, go for
the
it.
real number, as in like adjusted for inflation, that $1,000 20 years ago is different. That's the reason why.
You absolutely nailed it. That is exactly the distinction we were about to dive into.
Spot on. The nominal value is just the number on the paper, like that $1,000.
But the real value tells us what that money actually buys in the real world.
Exactly. Inflation erodes purchasing power, so a dollar today isn't a dollar from 20 years ago. Yep, go on.
So, like, why don't you start with talking about the economic way of thinking?
You are thinking like a true economist already by looking for those underlying patterns.
Exactly. The economic way of thinking is all about looking past the surface level.
It's about understanding how resources like labor and capital are organized to create value.
Okay, let's unpack this and get back to that Star Wars example for a second.
Right, because those 1977 records are way more impressive when adjusted for inflation.
It's the difference between just seeing a number and understanding its actual economic weight.
So if you're already tracking inflation, let's see if you can guess this next one.
What do thrill-seeking rock climbers have to do with your expensive health insurance premium?
It's a classic case of adverse selection where one side has more information than the other.
Right, the rock climbers stay in the insurance pool while the couch potatoes leave. Oh yeah, go on.
Okay, so like, what's like the
Oh, yeah, uh-huh.
what's the main difference between market economy and microeconomy?
That is a great distinction to make because they definitely overlap but serve different purposes.
Yeah, think of a market economy as the actual playground where consumers and entrepreneurs interact.
Exactly. It is a system based on demand, while microeconomics is the lens we use to study it.
So microeconomics looks at the specific choices people make within those markets, like shopping or working.
It helps us understand supply, demand, and why prices move the way they do in that system.
Which brings us back to our rock climbers staying in that insurance pool while the couch potatoes leave.
This is a microeconomic problem called adverse selection.
Ah, yeah, uh-huh.
So like, what's the whole point of the law of supply?
Oh, that is a fantastic question to throw into the mix right now.
It really gets to the heart of how producers make decisions in any market.
Essentially, the law of supply says when prices go up, producers want to sell more.
Exactly. Higher prices mean higher potential profits, so they ramp up their production.
But here is where it gets really interesting for your 4-point question.
You might be thinking of the four factors that actually shift the entire supply curve.
Those are technology, production costs.
Oh, yeah, uh-huh.
Isn't the law of supply that when the price of a good rises, the quantity supply rises? As in, like, not how much they actually produce, but how much is getting purchased.
Actually, that is a really common point of confusion, so I am so glad you brought that up.
Yeah, it's easy to mix them up, but the law of supply is actually about the producer side.
Exactly. It means as the price rises, the quantity supplied by businesses goes up, not the amount purchased.
When you're talking about how much is being purchased, you're actually describing the law of demand.
Right, because for consumers, if the price rises, the quantity they want to buy usually falls.
Think of it like this. If you're the one selling, high prices make you want to sell more.
Oh, yeah, let's hear it.
But then if the supplier makes a larger quantity of this, then because of the high price, it won't get sold. So there'll be an oversupply.
You are absolutely right. You've just described what economists call a surplus.
It's a classic case of market disequilibrium. Here's where it gets really interesting.
If the price is set too high, producers get excited and make way too much.
But on the other side, consumers see that high price and walk away.
So, just like you said, you end up with an oversupply that nobody wants.
In a healthy market, incentives usually drive everything back toward equilibrium to clear that stock.
But sometimes,
Hey, yeah, what's up?
But would the price of that good rise because of demand, as in like the quantity wasn't there, or what particular reason was there that the law of supply in regards to the price of the good rising? Like what caused the good to rise? With inflation?
That is a brilliant question because it touches on the difference between a movement and a shift.
yeah, you're asking what actually kicks the whole process off and makes that price move.
Exactly, and you hit the nail on the head. Often it is a change in demand.
Like if everyone suddenly decides they need a specific brand of sneakers, demand shifts to the right.
That increased demand creates a shortage at the old price, which naturally pushes the
Oh, back to our listener. What's
so
up?
so then because the law of demand,
Oh, yeah.
like there's a law of demand and there's a law of supply. Like the law of demand,
Oh, yeah. Let's hear it.
the law of demand is that when the price of the good rises, the quantity demanded falls. So then,
Oh, go for it.
so if the price of the goods falls, then that means they'll end up being like an oversupply.
Oh, go for it.
There'll be an oversupply because the demand has fallen as well as an oversupply in the market. So it'll eventually get to equilibrium.
You've got it. You're seeing the self-correcting nature of the market.
What's fascinating here is that the oversupply creates an incentive for producers to lower prices.
Exactly. Like those sneakers we mentioned earlier. If they're sitting on shelves, the price has to drop.
And as that price drops, the quantity demanded by people like you starts to rise again.
So what does this all mean? It means we're heading back to equilibrium.
Yep, go on.
So you're saying that because there's an oversupply and as well as like the demand has fallen, you're saying that the price will also fall?
Yes, exactly. When there is an oversupply, the price has to fall to clear those shelves.
It is like the market. Oh, yeah. Go on.
Okay, but then like they've ramped up production, they've created all these extra manufacturing facilities to facilitate manufacturing.
Oh, yeah, uh-huh.
So then how would they make less? Would they close down factories to decrease the level of production? Because now they're
Ah, yeah. Uh-huh.
because now they're oversupplying. So like what would they do?
Oh, yeah, uh-huh.
What would they do to decrease their the amount that they're producing? Like how would they decrease production?
That is such a practical question because you're right. You can't just unbuild a factory overnight.
You've hit on the difference between the short run and the long run in economics.
In the short run, they have to deal with those fixed costs like the rent and machinery.
To cut back immediately, they usually start with their variable costs, like reducing the labor.
So fewer shifts for the bakers or buying less flour for that imaginary bakery we mentioned.
If the oversupply is permanent, they might eventually. Oh, yeah, let's hear it.
So you're saying that one of the first things they would do is cut down labor?
Exactly. Labor is often the most flexible variable cost a business has in the short run.
It's much easier to tell a baker to work fewer hours than it is to sell an oven.
Right, because those ovens and the shop rent are fixed costs you're stuck with for a while.
But what if reducing hours isn't enough to stop the bleeding?
If that oversupply stays permanent, then they have to look at the long run.
That's
Hey, yeah, what's up?
But like where is equilibrium? Like what would be considered to be equilibrium when it comes to supply and demand? Like is it the original point of where it started from?
oh, back to our listener.
Like
What's
where it started from? Like does, for example, inflation or like increase
Oh, yeah.
or like a
Uh-huh.
natural increase in population, would that naturally increase demand? Or would that decrease?
Oh, yeah. yeah, let's hear it.
Or would like if inflation increases the price of certain products, would that decrease the demand? Like
Oh, go for it.
like where would it be? Where would an equilibrium be? Like I say, you're saying equilibrium. What exactly is equilibrium? Like there's no incentives for them to produce more. So you're saying they wouldn't produce more?
That is the big question. You are really digging into how these moving parts actually settle.
Think of equilibrium as the intersection point on a graph where supply and demand curves meet.
Exactly. It is the market's way of finding a balance where everyone is satisfied with the price.
At that specific point, the quantity people want to buy exactly matches the quantity firms want to sell.
So when we say there is no incentive to produce more, it is because you have hit peak efficiency.
If you go for it.
But like, where does inflation have to do with like this whole thing? Because like inflation will
Yep, go on.
like inflation will naturally increase the price of all products and services. So would that mean that over time the demand will naturally also fall?
That is a really intuitive way to look at it, but there's a little catch.
You're thinking of the law of demand, where higher prices usually mean people buy less.
But here is where it gets really interesting when we talk about inflation specifically.
Inflation is a general rise in prices across the whole economy, not just one single good.
So, okay, let's unpack this. If the price of bread goes up, but your paycheck also rises.
Then your real purchasing power might stay exactly the same, even though nominal prices.
Oh yeah, go on.
But what if the paycheck doesn't keep up with inflation? Hello?
Oh, yeah, uh-huh.
Like, what if salaries don't keep up with inflation? There are no pay raises. You don't get like a minimum wage increase. Like, you don't get a salary increase.
Ah, yeah, uh-huh.
So, if the salaries don't increase with inflation, or they don't keep up with inflation,
Oh, yeah, uh-huh.
it doesn't keep up with inflation, but like the products and services are keeping up with inflation. So what does that mean?
Oh, yeah, let's hear it.
So then would that mean that there would be a decrease in demand?
That is the million-dollar question, and honestly, it is what most people feel in their bones during inflation.
You have hit on the concept of a loss of purchasing power, where your money simply buys less.
So even if your nominal paycheck, that number on your bank statement stays exactly the same.
Your real value, what those dollars can actually get you at the store, is shrinking.
It's like trying to run up a down escalator that's speeding up while you're standing still.
In economics, we call this the short run, where nominal wages are often fixed by contracts or, hey, yeah, what's up?
So like in those circumstances when the market can't reach equilibrium, is it you can say like
Oh, back to our listener. What's
you
up?
can, You can say like would that be like a price ceiling or price floor when it comes to like salaries?
You're exactly right. Price ceilings and price floors are classic examples of when markets can't reach equilibrium.
Oh, that's such a sharp connection to make. It's like the market is trying to find balance.
The government has essentially put a physical barrier in the way of that reset button.
So, okay, let's unpack this. A price ceiling is like a cap that stays below the market price.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
So like would you say the minimum wage is a price ceiling or would you say that's a price floor?
That is a classic economics brain teaser, and you hit the nail right on the head.
It's a great question because minimum wage is actually the perfect example of a price floor.
Right, because it's a minimum limit on the price of labor that is set by the government.
Exactly. It's a floor because the price of labor is not allowed to fall below that specific level.
And just like we were saying about, oh yeah, let's hear it.
So let's say there was no minimum wage. You're saying that because there's a price floor, they're legally unable to pay less than that. So like if they, for example, had no price floor, they could technically they could pretty much hire people for free. Like some people would pay work for free for $0.
That is a wild thought to imagine a world with $0 paychecks.
It really highlights why the market for labor is such a unique thing to study.
So, okay, let's unpack this. Technically, without a floor, the price could drop.
But labor is a factor of production that households provide in exchange for income.
Right, and as we saw in the circular flow model, households need that for consumption.
Most people wouldn't work for free because their time has a high opportunity cost.
They would rather use their human effort to do literally anything else that provides value.
Exactly. In a market without a floor, the price settles where supply meets demand.
But just like we were saying, if that floor is set above that natural point,
Then it can actually lead to a surplus, which in this case means unemployment.
because at that higher price, more people want to work than there are. Oh, go for it.
So that's the price floor, and then
Oh, go for it.
price floors cause surpluses.
Yep, go on.
So if it was like a ceiling, like would it be like, how would it be a ceiling?
You've got the perfect intuition. A price ceiling is basically the exact opposite of that floor.
Exact.
Oh, yeah. Go on.
So a price ceiling would be like you can't make more than like a certain amount of money.
You're touching on a really important distinction there regarding what's being capped.
Yeah, it's not usually a cap on a person's total income or salary.
Right, it's a legal maximum on the price of a specific good or service.
So it's like the government saying you cannot charge more than this for this one thing.
Exactly. For that ceiling to actually matter, it has to stay below the market price.
Here is where it gets really interesting for the people trying to buy it,
If the price is kept artificially low by that cap, demand goes way up.
because everyone loves a bargain, right? But for the producers, it's a bit of a bummer.
Exactly. They don't want to produce as much if the profit is capped that low.
What's fascinating here is that this leads to a massive shortage.
Oh, yeah, uh-huh.
So if there was like a cap on like how much you can make, you're saying it would create a shortage because some people wouldn't work that job.
You nailed it. If there was a legal cap on income, that is exactly what would happen.
It creates what we call a shortage in the labor market.
Because if the reward is capped too low, the opportunity cost of working becomes too high.
People might choose leisure or different careers entirely because the incentive to work is gone.
So just like you said, you end up with a massive shortage of workers.
The quantity of labor people want to buy exceeds what people are willing to supply.
This is a perfect bridge to another common price ceiling, which is rent control.
Right. Think of rent control in a big city, like we often see in the news.
It's the same logic. A cap on rent keeps the price artificially low for renters.
Low prices mean everyone wants an apartment, but landlords might stop building new ones.
Or they might not even bother to maintain the buildings they already have.
Exactly, because the return on their investment is capped by that ceiling.
So you'll end up with thousands of people searching for,
So like what's the difference between perfect competition and monolithic competition?
That is a fundamental question for understanding how different businesses actually behave.
Okay, let's unpack this. Think of perfect competition like a giant farmer's market.
Right, everyone is selling the exact same thing, like identical tomatoes or corn.
Since the products are the same, no single farmer has the power to change the price.
They are price takers, they just have to accept. Oh, yeah, uh-huh.
So like why is it that long-term competition always drives profits to zero for perfect market competition?
You are hitting on one of the most surprising parts of economics.
It's a concept that sounds almost impossible until you see the mechanism behind it.
Okay, let's unpack this zero profit idea for our farmer's market scenario.
Imagine those farmers are making a massive profit selling their identical tomatoes.
Here's where it gets really interesting for anyone watching from the outside.
Because there are low barriers to entry, new farmers see those profits.
They want to slice that time, so they start growing tomatoes too.
As all these new... Oh yeah, let's hear it.
So are you saying that if you're in a perfect market competition, in the long run, eventually your profits will get to zero?
That is exactly what happens in a perfectly competitive market over the long term.
It sounds totally back.
Hey, yeah, what's up?
So why would people be in a perfect market competition then? There's like a zero sum game they're gonna bound to be Like this market's gonna run dry.
Oh, back to our listener. What's up?
This market's gonna run dry eventually. There'll be no profit.
It definitely sounds like a dead end when you put it that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sounds totally backwards. Why would anyone stay in business for $0?
Well, what's fascinating here is the distinction between accounting profit and economic profit.
Right, you're hitting on the core of why those farmers don't just pack up and leave.
An economic profit of zero doesn't actually mean your bank account is empty at the end of the month.
So what does this all mean for our farmer with the tomatoes?
It means they're still making what we call a normal profit, which covers their accounting costs.
Okay, let's unpack this. Accounting profit is the actual cash left after paying for seeds and labor.
Exactly. You are still paying yourself a salary and keeping the lights on in the barn.
So the zero part only happens when you factor in opportunity cost.
Precisely. It means you aren't making more than you could in your next best alternative career.
Like if our farmer could make the same amount of money, managed a grocery store instead.
Exactly. If they are making exactly that much, their economic profit is zero, but they're still doing fine.
That makes so much more sense. The spark doesn't run dry because they are still earning a living.
It's just that there's no extra bonus profit left over to attract even more new competitors.
So the market finally settles into that equilibrium where everyone is just comfortable.
Exactly. It's the point where the incentive to join or leave the market finally disappears.
This has been such an incredible deep dive into the hidden forces that shape our world.
I really enjoyed how your questions pushed us to look at the why behind the numbers.
Thanks for joining us and being part of the conversation today. We'll see you next time.